qualitative aspects of accounting practices. Just so you're aware, management is responsible for the selection and use of appropriate accounting policies. The accounting policies used by the corporation are described in Note A to the financial statements. There are no new accounting policies that were adopted in the current fiscal year, and the application of existing policies was not changed. We noted no transactions entered into by the corporation where there was a lack of authoritative guidance or consensus, and we didn't find any transactions that were recorded that were not recorded in the proper period. Also, we'll get to highlight the fact that all the estimates are a critical part of financial statements. All financial statements have estimates of some kind. Management is responsible for making those estimates. We do evaluate those estimates based on the circumstances during our audit to make sure that we believe they're reasonable given the circumstances. And we do like to highlight some of the more sensitive estimates on the corporation's financial statements, and those are listed here. First one's estimate of allowance on uncollectible loans. That's based on management's evaluation of the collectability of outstanding receivables, including historical loss experience and economic conditions. Management's estimate of depreciable lives and estimated residual value of capital assets is based on how long they expect those assets to provide economic benefit in the future. Depreciation is generally calculated on a straight line basis. And last one, management's estimate of the value of the contributed property received in the current year. There were a couple pieces of property that were transferred from the city of Troy. They were recorded on the financial statements based on the assessed value for the city of Troy assessor's website.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a quick question? The documents that were sent out, there were 5 of them. Which one are we looking at now? Is this the Troy LDC financials.pdf document?
This should be the Troy local development report to the board.
Report to the board. Okay. I was having a hard time following it when I was using that other document. Now I see. Yep, it matches up perfectly. Thank you.
Okay. We did evaluate the assumptions related to these estimates, and we did determine that we believe that they're reasonable given the circumstances. There are also some disclosures in the financial statements that are particularly sensitive given the nature of them. And there's one that we wanted to highlight here for your organization. Really, it has to do with the carrying value of the land held for development. Most of that is the King's Fuel site. There is at least a reasonable possibility that the value of the land may not be recoverable by the corporation in the future. So we do like to highlight that. I think the last appraisal you had was several years old now, so the value of that land, we're not aware of any impairments, but the fact is that when you go to sell that land, you may not be able to recover the value you have on the financial statements for it. Difficulties encountered in performing the audit. As with all our audits in the past year, it's been a little more challenging due to COVID. Trying to do an audit remote is not the most efficient way to do an audit. But with that being said, we didn't have any significant difficulties in dealing with management that we need to disclose to you. Corrected and uncorrected misstatements. Professional standards require that we accumulate and inform you of any misstatements that we find during our audit, unless they're clearly trivial. We have 2 schedules that are attached to the board report. I'll go over those in just a second. Schedule 1 shows material misstatements or proposed adjustments we make that management will post to their general ledger. And then Schedule 2 summarizes uncorrected misstatement, at least as of right now, that it hasn't been corrected. Management believes that misstatement is immaterial immaterial to the financial statements as a whole. I will just scan down to those and go over those real quick. The journal entries we proposed that expect to be recorded to the general ledger. The first one is to accrue a bill, the final bill in the Franklin Alley project that has the payable of the final AIA form from the construction company. That actually came in after we got our trial balance, so that wasn't recorded in the original trial balance we received. So we did propose an entry to accrue that bill. And the other one was the Federal Street property had not been recorded prior to us getting our trial balance, so we did propose an adjustment to record the value of that property on the books at the assessed value. The one past adjustment Jones that we have has to do with the National Grid grant. The amount booked on the financial statements is the full amount of the grant that was awarded. That particular grant is up to $69,700. That grant was conditional, so not only that was the limit of the grant, but also you had to raise 3 to 1. You had to match their amount 3 to 1 in order to receive it. We identified all the expenses we could find and calculated what their percentage of it would be, and we came to a difference of about $15,000 between what was booked on the financial statements. Unless something comes up between now and before we issue, that's passed. Or if management decides to make that entry, then this can go away. But we just want to make sure that you're aware of it. Our recommendation would be to make the entry, and if you get more than the amount booked now, you record that next fiscal year. That's better than turn around and recording the whole amount this year and then turning around and taking a loss in the future year. But that's, it's not material to the financial statements, so we did pass on it. That's really up to you.
And I don't anticipate a change in that. That's mostly related to a retail improvement that we were counting as part of our match. And with COVID hitting, that retail improvement in the Douchy building did not occur.
Okay.
So I use it as match.
Disagreements with management. We're happy to report we didn't have any significant disagreements with management related to accounting or auditing matters. We will be requesting what's called the management representation letter from management. Essentially, that letter includes a bunch of representations. Essentially, they're just saying that they provided all the information we requested to answer truthfully all of our questions, and all the information we provided was complete and accurate. Management's consultation with other independent accountants. This has to do with if management was to go out and consult another CPA or other accounting firm related to an accounting or auditing matter. They're required to come back and at professional standards and contact us to ensure they have all their pertinent information. And we're required, if that happens, we're required to let you know about it. We're not aware of any such consultation. Other matters, just highlight generally accepted accounting principles. GASB requires that for governments that they have what's called the management discussion analysis that precedes the financial statements. It is not something that we would audit even if you had issued. So the fact that it's missing does not impact our audit opinion. But we do like to highlight that while technically it is required for a small organization like this, it's not uncommon for them not to be done. And it's not included in the financial statements. So that is the report to the board. Are there any questions on that? All right, if not, we will move on to the financial statements. I apologize. The financial statements you received, there were a couple errors in the financial statements you received. Unfortunately, my staff scanned and sent the wrong copy to you. I'll highlight the differences when we get to them. But this one you see up here on the screen will be the one that's been corrected. We'll start with the independent auditor's report. There's a lot of information in this report. It starts off by indicating what management's responsibilities are. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. We do, as part of our engagement, assist in the preparation of those financial statements. However, management is responsible for reviewing and taking responsibility for them. Our responsibility is to plan and perform an audit that allows us to express an opinion on your financial statements. We do consider your internal control. Our consideration of your internal controls to the extent necessary to allow us to plan our audit and address the risk assessments risks we identify. It is not, we don't consider it to the extent to issue an opinion on how effective your internal controls are. But we will go over that. I'll address that when we get to the government audit expense report at the end. On the top of the next page is our opinion on the financial statements. This is what's called an unmodified or a clean opinion. It is the highest level of assurance you can get. Essentially, it says that we believe that the financial statements are fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles as of December 31st, 2020 and 2019. Other matters required supplementary information. We're just referring to the management succession analysis that is letting the reviewer know that it is required under GASB requirements, but it's not included. But it does not, since it's not anything we would audit to begin with, it doesn't change our audit opinion. And the last paragraph refers to the government audit standards report. Whenever we do that's a report we're required to issue when we do an audit in accordance with government audit standards, and I'll address that at the end when we get to it. So going on to the next page. This is the statement of net position. This is essentially what the equivalent of a balance sheet for the organization. It shows total assets, subtracts total liabilities, and brings it down to what the net amount is at the end, which is your net position. Year over year, a couple highlights. Overall, cash went down. You did actually generate positive cash flow from operations, but the main reason for the decrease is the debt service requirements that you're required to make. Restricted cash is new in the current year. That related to a $50,000 you received from related to Monument Square. That money is to be spent to defray your expenses going forward to the Monument Square project. So that is restricted for that purpose. Grants receivable, that decreased year over year. Main reason for that is last year you had those large grants related to the playground in the city park, and also amounts receivable from National Grid related to the cleanup of King's Fuel site that you didn't have in the current year. Loans receivables went down long term and current. That's based on current year repayments year over year. Your properties held for sale and development did go up because you did acquire those two new properties in the current year. It was Northern Drive that was recorded for about $13,500, and then the Federal Street property was recorded for about $59,000. On the current liability side, AP did go up significantly, and we highlighted that before. That has to do with your the final payment on the Franklin Square project. Grants payable went down. You did collect several of the grants related to the playground and remit those to the city in the current year. There's one still outstanding. That's the Seymour Fox Foundation grant that still hasn't been received at this point. And long-term debt decreased just to normal amortization during the year. This is your statement of revenues, expenses, and change in net position. So this shows your total revenues and total operating expenses in the current year, as well as your non-operating revenues and expenses. Year over year, you did see a significant decrease in grant revenue. Again, that you did have significant grants received in the prior year related to the cleanup of the King's Fuel site. Contributed property, that $72,000 is the amount that's recognized in revenue current year for the as part of recording those two new properties that were received in the current year. Administration fees went down. There were no projects. You had shared admin fees, project fees with the IDA during the current fiscal year, so there was no revenue related to that. Expenses year over year, the economic development, significant expenditures in the current year. That's mainly due to the Franklin Square project, and also some expenses in there related to the Summer Square project, the COVID release, the COVID response expenditures during the year are in there as well. Repairs and maintenance went up. That is directly related to a fence around that you rent for the King's Fuel site. Non-operating revenues and expenses. Obviously, the gain on the satisfaction of the environmental remediation obligation, that was the cleanup at King's Fuel. That was done last year, so that wouldn't repeat. And these grants, income and grant expenses, those are related to the flow-through grants for the city of Troy for the playground. Those did not repeat in the current year either. The next one is the statement of cash flows. This one's going to be different than you have in your packet, because there was a formula error in it that was corrected after the fact. But this statement shows your total sources of cash in the year and total uses of cash in the year. This is what's called the direct method of presenting it. because it doesn't start with net income. But you can see proceeds from grant, you received about 350,000. Receipts from customers, that's generally rental income of 88,000, and you received about 13,000 in repayments from loans receivable in the current year. Amounts paid out for expenses of about $338,000, led to a net positive inflow of cash of 114,000 for the current year.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. So this is where I do see, so you point out that there's a difference there. So originally that number for grants was 279,577, which changed the net cash to, that was 42,028.
Yeah.
So
What happened was
that difference? What's that delta?
it had to do with the contributed property. When we broke it out on the statement of activities, my staff didn't change the formula, so it was pulling the wrong number in. So it generated this number here should agree down to this number down, this reconciliation down here, which it does on this year. On yours, it didn't because of that formula error.
Oh, got it.
So
Okay.
it was caught and corrected, and you see it there. You did expend $227,000 related to financing activities. That was principal of $167,000 and cash out for interest of just over $60,000 during the year, which generates a net decrease in cash of $112,000. This reconciliation at the bottom just starts with your operating income and adjusts for all your non-cash and accrual basis adjustments to go from operating income to what you actually provided in cash at the end of the year. As I said, that number should agree to this number up here, which it does. The notes of the financial statement, pages 6 through 8. This is note 8 of the financial statement. So these are your accounting policies of the organization. As I said before, there were no changes to these during the year, and the application of them did not change. These are considered to be in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Note B just provides some general information related to your cash, as well as how much collateralized cash you have at the end of the year. That's a required disclosure for a government. Note C provides some information related to loans receivable, the amounts you have outstanding at the end of the year, how much you've established for an allowance for doubtful accounts. That's a net amount that's actually presented on the statement of the financial statements. Note D just provides the activity in your capital assets accounts year over year. The only change there would be depreciation for both years. Note E provides the listing of your property held for sale. As you can see, you did record those 2 new properties in the current year, Federal Street and the Northern Drive property, that were picked up by the organization in 2020. Note F describes the loan payable you have with HUD, and shows the total outstanding at the end of the fiscal year, the amounts current next fiscal year. So that's your long-term portion on the statement of net position. And this shows your debt service requirements over the next 5 years and thereafter. And it shows that over the next, through 2026, you're going to have debt service payments of just under $1.2 million. At that point in time, the loan will be fully repaid.
Hey, Chris, I got a quick question. What's the interest rate on that payable?
I think it's 5%.
Okay.
Note G, rental income just breaks down the rental agreement you have for some of your properties. This is with county waste, and it also has been updated in the current year for the updates, specifically the additional $10,000 annually that they pay for road maintenance as well. And then the last one I wanted to highlight real quick is just your related party transactions. You do have several transactions between the city, the IDA, and the CRC. In the current year, you obviously received staff support from the city without compensation. You do have an agreement with the IDA to share project fees. However, there were no shared projects in the current fiscal year. And the CRC did provide you some assistance in the current year. They provided an additional $160,000. That was, if I remember the breakdown correctly, that was $100,000 for the Franklin Square project, and an additional $60,000 for the COVID response, the Summer Square project as well. And the last thing I want to touch base on is what's called our Yellow Book report. This is a report that's issued in accordance with government audit and standards. It starts with our consideration of internal control. We do consider your internal control to the extent necessary to plan and perform our audit, but not necessary to express an opinion on it. However, during that process, if we become aware of what's called a significant deficiency or material weakness in internal control, we're required to communicate that to you here and report that. And we're happy to report we did not become aware of any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies that need to be reported in accordance with government auditing standards. We also have to consider your compliance with laws and regulations that could have a material impact on the financial statements. And if we become aware of any non-compliance that's material to financial statements, we're required to communicate that to you here as well. And we're happy to report we were not aware of any non-compliance that's material to the financial statements. And that is the Yellow Book report and the financial statements. Are there any questions?
I'm good.
Well, if not, that's all I have for you.
Great, I appreciate it, Chris. Excuse me. I'll ask one more time. Does anybody have any questions for Chris regarding the financials for LDC? Any comments, any further discussion?
Nothing from me.
All right. So then, do we have a motion to approve the 2020 financials presented by Wojcicki and Company?
I will make a motion that we approve the financials.
I'll
Great.
second.
Sorry, who was that?
I'll second.
Oh, Monica. Okay. Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. The 2020 financials are approved. Thanks very much, Chris. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Everyone have a good day.
You too.
You too.
Thank
See you in
Thank you.
35 minutes.
Yes, we'll see you soon a bit.
Yeah, see you in a couple of minutes. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn the LDC meeting?
I'll move.
Second.
Great. Any opposed? Great.
Adjourn.
We're adjourned. All right. We got to wait till 10 o'clock now?
No, we're gonna
No, that
move
was
into
the
the
audit
LDC meeting, the
Gotcha.
regular LDC meeting.
That was just the audit and finance meeting, I think.
All right. So we'll officially call to order the LDC Board of Directors meeting. Today is March 26, 2021. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the February 19th, 2021 board meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Sure, motion.
Great. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. The minutes from that meeting are approved. Moving to the second item on the agenda, the annual meeting of the resolutions.
Okay, so this is our annual meeting where we need to take care of some policy procedures. Basically, in your packet was the annual meeting resolution. I did speak section 4, well, it talks about that we've reviewed the mission statement, that we've reviewed the investment policy, so that's been done in-house, although I think we probably need to spend a little time working on these at some of the meetings coming up to address them during the course of this year, especially when I look at results from the IDA and the CRC on their board evaluations. I can only imagine that's a little true here, is that we need to put a little more effort into reviewing and getting some better goals for what our accomplishments will be for the year. For section 4, there's annual officer election. And so I'd like to propose a slate after talking to everybody of Justin Nadeau for chair, Andy Ross for vice chair, Ken Zalewski for treasurer, and Monica for secretary. How many times did I say your name and I can't say it? Krzyzewski. And let's see, that the Audit and Finance Committee and the Governance Committee are committees of the whole. And that we approve the annual report. So the annual report was in your package as well. It's mostly for LDC, pretty straightforward. It talks about each of our loans. That's kind of the only thing that really changes a lot each year. And there are certain shortcomings on job creation in there. But I think that's kind of COVID related this year as people report what their jobs are. Although a number of the businesses have created the jobs, and actually, well, so that's in the report. Dutch Auditor didn't have any job creation. Troy Kitchen obviously didn't have any job creation as he's closed down. But as these start to come near paying off, at least some of them, I don't believe that's a big issue. And again, they're making payments subject to our loan modifications. Let's see. And that's basically the gist of what's in the annual resolution. Justin, do you think you have anything that I clearly missed in there that we need to add? Justin Miller?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. It's our annual one-stop shop compliance resolution that takes care of the readoption of policies that are required. You take a look at your audit, you set your committees and your board offices and ratify all of your annual compliance things in advance of Danae filing the Paris report. And this formally accepts your audit as well. So it's our one-stop shop. Good summary.
Right. And as again, all this information is coming in from our from the businesses that we have loans to. So we're getting this in just in advance of this meeting. So we're approving what they've submitted to us, and now we'll go back and review it after this gets accepted. Basically, we're accepting what they've sent to us. We're not saying it complies with the requirements of what they promised when they got a loan. So that'll be under review now. So that's it for the annual meeting resolution. So
All right.
we need a motion to adopt that.
Yep. Do we have a motion to approve the annual meeting resolution regarding the election of officers, review of procedures, and the audit and Paris report?
I'll make a motion.
I'll
Andy?
second.
Monica, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. Move on to the executive director's report.
Okay, some of this is covered later. The only main thing, the two things I'll talk about are our loans. So Pervada Kitchens, which was in the Ilium, made full payment of their loan. So that is one less loan we have to worry about right now. We are coming to the end of the loan deferment period that we just approved for 6 months. So I will be reaching back out to the businesses, obviously over the next couple of days to see where they stand. And if we're able to start making payments again, I know that some of them have indicated it should not be an issue right now. And some of them I haven't gotten through to yet, but I'll update you more on that next month.
And just to quickly jump in, Steve, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm just trying to understand more about it, but I know there's that restaurant aid act that was approved that's coming out soon, and it's their, I believe they're grants. So it's something that I think we should take a closer look at to see if we can kind of kill two birds with one stone, help our local restaurants in the area as well as help our receivables at the same time.
Right.
So we're preparing a summary here in my organization, so that I'll definitely circle around to this group so that we're all aware of what's available for our community.
Great. Okay.
I think Troy's getting, I think it's $300,000. Is that correct?
So we have $300,000 right now in small business grants through the CARES funding. That was the third round of CARES funding from last year. So it's essentially the second round of small business money. There is some money left over from the first one, but we want to finalize all the grants that we already put out before we open that pot back up. I do know, Justin, if you can send and circulate some of that as we're developing our plan for the larger monies that we're going to be receiving. We certainly want to know what's out there, because there's a lot in that bill that helps through a federal level rather than on a local level. And we want to make sure that we know what all those buckets are, what the application process is, and what that work looks like for our community, but also be able to determine where there's voids in our industries personally in our city, so that we can help maybe fund some of the voids versus double down on stuff that's already getting other funding through other means.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sorry, Steve, go ahead.
No, that's good. Thanks.
Going to be a hot topic over the next couple months.
It will be. The only other thing to state, as Chris alluded to, we have a $50,000 restricted funds to be used to assist our costs going forward with the redevelopment of Monument Square. And I will have a proposal next month as we continue to work on the capital stack and that project to keep moving it forward. I'll be coming back for to use some of that money for assistance in evaluating the structure of this, the structure of the development as it moves forward. You know, whether it's a condominium, we'll need some assistance on that, and how to split out costs related to that. So I'll have more on that next month. I just wanted, you know, that 50,000 that is held restricted, we will be spending that down. That's it for my executive director's report. Let's see, I'll just move right into old business, Justin.
Yep.
Just National Grid, the update there is that we're supposed to receive today, Justin Miller, I think, the draft license with National Grid.
Yeah, we had a draft that was largely based on the 2012 version that is supposed to be updated to reflect the new business terms we've discussed with them for the better part, including the phased remediation, license payments for disruption and road replacement, those kind of things. They promised to send it by either yesterday or this morning. I have an email ready to go out right now just to kind of poke them a bit, but my hope is to try to get that moving so we can process it as part of our April meeting cycle, if possible. And perhaps May at the latest, if it takes a little time to finalize things with them.
And I did fail to mention above, we've been getting $10,000 a year from County Waste as part of the amended lease agreement to be used towards road repair. And so as soon as the city's bids come in, we're probably going to spend sort of 20,000 basically from that, that we probably will use just south of the bridge over the line because they're and on the bridge because the road's getting pretty bad there. So I'll have that hopefully next month as well. That's it for old business.
Great. Any new business, Steve?
I do. So we last year, if you remember, and Chris talked about it during the audit, we received $60,000 from the CRC for a grant, basically a COVID response, rapid response grant. And I think the projects that we did with that really helped our businesses downtown. And this year, as we come out of COVID, we applied again for $30,000 from the CRC. And I have a resolution before them today to make that grant to us to be used for three things. One is the next piece below, which says Troja Est, which is basically a reopening event of the businesses on May 1st. And it's being coordinated by Susan Dunkel. If you remember, we've given her grants before for Enchanted City, and she's done a really good job creating these events and promoting them. So she's working with Duncan Prairie in marketing, and Liz, the former director of the bid, as well as with the bid to have an event on May 1st, which could include a drone show in the evening, as well as marketing to get people out and on the streets again as we open up for the summer events. So included in that $30,000 grant I asked for from the CRC, $10,000 for that project, $10,000 to be used for other promotional or other events, concerts. We'll do bid again as we did last year, and $10,000 towards trying to make the streets more. I don't think we're going to shut down the streets this year like we did last year, but make them more pedestrian friendly, do some traffic calming in that area of Second and Broadway where the cars tend to fly down and there's heavy traffic and it's really not safe for pedestrians. So I'm looking for that today as well. So this, there's basically two pieces here under new business. One is to accept the grant from the CRC if they give it to us in 30 minutes. And the other is to award a $10,000 grant to, I sent that out yesterday, so it's to, it's doing business as Copper Pot. I can't remember the name of her firm that we're paying her, but it's Susan Dunkel with this Troja S program. So I guess the first thing would be, Justin, I would need a resolution accepting the grant from the Capital Resource Corporation.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept that resolution from, is it the $10,000?
This is 30,000 from the Capital
30,000.
Resource Corporation. Yeah, for
Yeah.
COVID too, basically.
Great. Do we have an acceptance to that resolution?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Ken, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Monica? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, and the second would be a resolution pending award by the Capital Resource Corporation of the $30,000, an award of $10,000 to the Copper Pot for the Troja S program on May 1st.
So, okay, do we have an acceptance for that resolution for the $10,000 presented by the Copper Pot for the
To the Copper Pot.
to the Copper Pot for the Troja Est project?
I make a motion.
Monica, do we have a second? Andy? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Thanks, Steve. Anyone have any questions for Steve regarding any of the old and new business? All right, Mary Ellen, mic is yours.
Okay. The first report is our statement of financial position. As of 2/28, our total assets are $3,033,220, leaving us with a $292,139 of those assets are in cash. Liabilities are at $1,022,196, leaving us with a fund balance of $2,046,422. There's no real changes to this report.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ken.
We're now on, is this the statement of financial position as of February 28th, 2021?
I
Yes.
believe so. Yeah.
And I'm bad. It took me a while to find it. I think it's on your screen now.
Okay, yeah. Because I'm just flipping through these PDFs trying to find the right ones. That's
Yeah, I usually bring it up and I didn't.
Do we want to go over it again?
You want to run through it quick? Just.
Sure.
Hands looking at it. Go ahead.
At 2/28, total assets are $3,033,220. With $292,139 in cash. All the way up. There you go.
Right.
Our liabilities are $1,022,196. Leaving us with a fund balance of $2,046,226,000.
And Mary Ellen, quickly,
Yes.
that's what Chris presented before, where that's that no payable, that's the 5%. No,
The note payable is right there,
yep,
the 618 account.
yes, and who holds that note?
The city is holding it for us.
At the
We are
5% interest rate?
responsible. We're responsible. That's correct.
Okay,
I'm not
That's the
100%
headline.
sure what the interest rate is anymore. We have had this loan for a number of years.
okay, yeah, it's just, it's a very expensive.
Right now
No,
it
that's-
is,
Yeah, It
Yeah.
probably wasn't when we took it out. It was probably a pretty good rate back then.
Sorry to interject. By way of background, the HUD loan was originally a loan from HUD to the city directly for economic development purposes, predominantly tied to the King Fuel site and the acquisition of the county waste site. The loan was structured as a subrecipient agreement and a loan from the city to TLDC to administer and structure repayment as owner of the land using rentals and other revenues to repay the loan. The high interest rate is a good observation, but that's largely tied to a loan that was deployed in 2006, I believe, if you can remember what was going on in the financial markets at that time. These are done through structured HUD debentures, which are put out as fixed rate loans and aren't generally refinanceable. You got to stay within that HUD pool unless they take the whole pool of loans, which tend to be nationwide with thousands of borrowers, and then restructure them. I think that did occur once a few years ago for this loan with a rate reduction, but at this point, I don't anticipate the city receiving any HUD rate reductions on this one because I think we term out in about, I think 4 years. Left to term out the loan. So that's the background. The city's the ultimate obligor and borrower, but created the LDC as a sub-administrator and borrower with mortgages in favor of the city from the LDC on the land. So once we term out the loan, the city will release the mortgages on the property and we'll be free of this debt sooner than later. Our hope is to get National Grid completed with remediation as soon as possible and allow us to subdivide the land and allow sale of proportional parts of it to knock down the loan to the city as quickly as possible. Much like we did a partial payoff for the county waste site, which was subsequently restructured, but hope is to monetize the land as greatly as possible in order to bullet out the loan as quickly as we can.
I appreciate that, Justin. Obviously I'm new to this, and so just seeing 167,000 come out of our bank account, it was just tough to see. But all right, I appreciate the response.
Yeah, you can't prepay it or refinance it. It's a real stink. You know, we're doing our best.
Thank you. Sorry, Mary Ellen.
That's okay. Here we go. This report, the statement of activity for the month of February. We have a deficit of 6,215. We had rental revenue of 5733, and our largest expense was the interest on the HUD loan. No real changes to the statement of activity.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for Mary Ellen regarding the financials? All right. Thanks, Mary Ellen. Do we have a motion to approve the financials?
I'll move it.
I make a motion to approve.
Monica, do we have a second?
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Financials are approved. Thanks, Mary Ellen. All right. Any further discussion on any items presented today?
I'll move we adjourn.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Is my microphone off?
Steve, I heard you. Motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Adjourn.
Yep, second.
Great. Any opposed?
Just a quick comment, if I may.
Sure. Is that
It's Deanna.
Deanna?
Hey, guys. I did a couple questions in the chat room, but I just also wanted to give you an FYI. We have a new company in downtown Troy. They've come from Rochester, and they did have a sales office up in Clifton Park, but they bought a building, 48 4th Street, and they're bringing their business, another office here to Troy. It's called Light Spec. And they are a commercial lighting company, and apparently you know them because they did all the lighting along the waterfront some time ago. But they're a great company, and just wanted you to know that they are now in town.
Great.
Great.
And in answer to your second question, Deanna, about the string lights.
Yes.
So we're gonna, actually, it's funny because we're gonna probably take them down because with HBO filming, The Gilded Age, they didn't have string lights in the 1800s. So
Right.
we'll actually take a lot of them down, and then it'll be a nice place for us to actually restart. I'm actually very excited because some of this, all the signs have to come down and all the other extras downtown, so we can actually have a clean slate to put new stuff back up. So we're actually looking at lighting the light poles rather than the trees. It'll be an easier installation, it'll be easier to manage, and the power sources are right there, and it should avoid the crazy wires hanging from tree to tree. So we'll do that after later on in the summer once they're done filming.
Oh, that's excellent. And what is their timeline, HBO?
We're looking right now, they'll be in town. They're in town right now. Their scouts are still doing a couple last minute places that they're looking for. But they're looking at mobilizing some of their team in May to start work on properties. And then sometime within May and June, that's their target filming, but that's not solid yet. So we're just waiting to get some more confirmation from them. But we also have 2 other scouts in town for more series later on in the year too.
I was gonna say, I've already taken one of them all around town, and he got excited because I showed him the Masonic Temple, the AI Center, and he was overjoyed about that.
Yep. Yeah, so John, the one that you were touching base, he's working on one, and then there's actually one that's in the works. It's not anything like prominent right now. They're just kind of scoping it out for later in the year. We're making Hollywood East in Troy, New York.
I tell you, yeah.
I better brush off my my extra acting resume because I've been in 4 movies locally here, and like.
They're looking right now. They're looking right now, Ken.
By the way, my Broadway, off-Broadway performers that I've been trying to get into the castle that are still interested, and this has been going on since last summer, but the castle has had to go through the city to get it all up to speed. As you know, that building has been a fraternity house for 60 years. So they've had issues with, support on the floor and alarms and various other things to make it to code to be able to do more public performances there. And it just seems to be dragging out, and we're kind of losing our performers. But I did get a call from one of them saying a few of them have actually moved in town and are living in sort of month-to-month apartments, hoping that this is going to actually come to fruition.
Hey, Deanna, it's Dylan. Can you, what's her name? Is it Elizabeth that you're speaking with?
No.
Oh,
No.
What's her name with the performer? Can you just ask her to give me back a call then? I haven't heard from them in a little bit. So this is the first I'm hearing that they're having trouble getting through.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'd love it. Her name is Lindsay, but it might be Rachel that takes it up. But yeah, Lindsay's usually the one that handles it.
Okay. Yeah. If you could ask her to reach out to me, I'd really appreciate it.
Oh, I would.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Deanna, how many people are in Lightspace? How many people moved in?
Not a lot. They've got only like a handful, like 3 or 4, but they, they're going to work on various other, people coming and going kind of thing. But in addition to that, they're reformatting their second floor completely and allowing for front space for rentals. So I've been talking to them about possibly another group going in there, but it's probably not going to happen. But yeah, they're reformatting the second floor of their office, which is quite nice. And as I think you've already known that I've already put retail in there. There's Corinne Hughes. She and her husband or her partner, Ryan O'Shea, they are a hair salon barber on the mezzanine level. And they didn't mind being secluded up on the mezzanine because they do hair that people that are losing their hair, African-American type hair, especially with weaves and all. And then and their sister, Toya, she's doing a little boutique downstairs, and her parents or mom lives in, I guess, North Carolina or the Carolinas, and they're doing another shop down there. So they're doing like 2 shops in both places for, supplies to get lower supplies or something, cost of supplies. So anyway, it's kind of cool. Those 2 little things have that are there. I'm not sure if the new company will want to keep them there. I hope they do, but we'll see.
So as a follow-up to the Gilded Age, we're actually going to be hosting their set on one of our high bay warehouses here. So just,
They're everywhere.
yeah, so FYI.
Are you in it, Andy? Are they gonna?
I don't plan to be, but you never know.
New star.
Great.
I'd rather be
Hey,
behind the
Monica?
scenes.
Monica, at some point you should work with Steve to improve his mic setup. He sounds like Lord Helmet from Spaceballs.
You know, all I had to do was call Quinn and ask Quinn for a new desktop and a monitor and stuff. And lo and behold, look how pretty it is. I even have my own camera and I got speakers and everything.
I don't
So
know what
Steve,
Steve's
just
using.
ask.
but
I don't know, I got this crappy micro, what does it sound like?
He sounds like Lord Helmet.
God.
All you gotta do,
Monica-
Steve, is ask.
Monica-
Okay, I'll tell him.
Um,
I asked once already, this is my second microphone.
Well, maybe you just ask for a new monitor.
just
Monitor.
on the issue of like performances, sort of an offshoot, but the property at 58 King Street, which is Delbeck Audio, speaking of. And by the way, Andy, if HBO needs any kind of equipment, I'm sure they can accommodate, but I'm sure they don't, but if they do. But anyway, I'm trying to sell that building. And if you know of anybody, love to have them. But I actually had a couple in there from New York City by way of Skodak that were looking to do some kind of performance, some kind of event space, but they want it smaller than that apparently. So anyway, it would be a cool building for something like that or retail.
Deanna, can you send the specs on that to me?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Do we need to adjourn the meeting again, or was it
I think
Yeah,
adjourned?
we had a motion and a second. We
we're-
had some discussion, so.
Yeah, I think we're in discussion.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Great. Well, thanks, Deanna, for jumping in. Meeting's officially adjourned. See you guys in about 30
Happy
seconds.
Friday, everybody.
That's right, Justin,
See you
Ann,
later.
can you stay on for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
All right,
Justin,
see you later.
See you later.
Justin, oops, who did I lose?
Do you
Justin
need
and
me
you.
or Miller?
You, not Justin Miller, but you're welcome to stay on, Justin. So for the next meeting, we may as well just call a joint, I think we may as well just call it joint audit and finance committee meeting or audit committee of both of the CRC and the IDA at the same time. And let Chris go through them both so I don't have to listen to the first part twice, right?
All right. So a joint audit and finance committee meeting for the IDA and CRC.
Right, and then you.
And then we'll close that out and then go into the IDA,
Right,
then close that out and then go into CRC.
right.
Okay,
Okay, thanks. See you in a couple.
thank you. All right.